So let's talk about Scream 7, its ending, and why a lot of people feel this is not Scream 7. This actually feels just like Stab 7. So let's talk about the movie. Of course, we are going to say right off the bat, the firing of Melissa Barrera was a horrible thing on Spyglass and Paramount and all of that. We will always remind you of that here on this channel. And that's just what we're doing. We're making sure we raise awareness. I think that was such a bad decision on their part and really should be an alarming thing for a lot of people. But let's get into Scream 7 and what exactly happened in this film. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We're entering into a time when it comes into March, into April and May, where we're going to get a ton of great horror films. I was just going over some of the new releases and stuff like that are coming. Stay tuned for that video tomorrow because I want to talk about a lot of them. But let's talk about Scream 7, what exactly happened and why a lot of people don't feel like this is Scream anymore. And it is in fact the thing that Scream 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5 were making fun of, because we've definitely gone off the rails and I don't know where we're headed towards, and I'm kind of scared. So hit the subscribe notification bell. 50,000 subscribers is our goal. Let's talk Scream 7. So Scream 7 begins with a couple, Scott and Madison, going to Stu Macher's house. Stu Macher's house will never be something that will never be referenced, I feel. It is too iconic, right? And the couple go to this house that's sort of like an Airbnb museum of sorts, and they start to talk about the rumor that Stu could be alive. Yes, Stu, who got a huge screen dropped on his head, electrocuted, could still be alive. I mean, we do know that his body was never found. So anyways, they don't really have a good time here because they are eventually killed by a Ghostface and the whole house is burned down. And now we know that shit's gonna get real, right? This is actually one of the most violent, if not the most violent, Scream movie to date as well. I thought 6 was crazy. This goes way beyond that. But what we eventually see is that Sidney has moved on from her life and has become a coffee shop owner. She has a daughter, Tatum, as well as her 2 younger kids, of course, that we saw in Scream 5. She is married to a cop who is played by Joe McHale, named Mark, and now she is in Indiana. A quiet life, that is, until she gets the call from Stu. Yes, Stu is alive. He is very much so here, and he even gets on a video call to prove it to Sidney, and things start to get very bad as he says he is after Tatum. We see that he eventually makes it to her theater that she is working at, and we see that he kills one of her friends, Hannah, as well as a classmate, George, and it looks like Stu's not playing. Stu is not playing at all. Sidney arrives to the theater at the school, but it is too late. Hannah and George are now dead. She then receives another call that Ghostface does have her husband Mark at knife point and is about to end him. So Sidney's really on the run from 0 to 100 right off the bat. Her and Tatum are then chased by Ghostface when they arrive, but this chase abruptly ends when Gail, Chad, and Mindy show up in a car running over the Ghostface, killing the Ghostface. Let's unmask it. It's Stu. No, it's some random guy. We have no clue who he is. Turns out the guy's name is Carl, and he's an escaped murderer from a psych ward. Marco, the supervisor, talks about him, as well as him being roommates with another inmate called Stu, or John Doe, who Marco says got released not too long ago too. So Stu's definitely on the prowl and he's ready to get revenge on Sidney. So what's the plan here? How do we get Stu to come out and we know where to trap him, right? Well, here's the plan. Gail says, let's do that interview, Sidney. That will make him come out, and we're about to get this guy here. Sidney finally agrees to do Gail's interview. We've come full circle, and we see now that Stu, in fact, is coming out, but he's coming out to actually kill Mark as he stabs him repeatedly, and also kill Tatum and her friends as they were with Chad and Mindy trying to decipher who exactly Ghostface could be. But we see that Sidney gets the call from Stu to let her know, like, yeah, we're on Tatum right now, so you better come quick. So we see Ghostface kill all of Tatum's friends, and we see her and Ben, her boyfriend, run away together. But then Tatum is shocked to find that Ben has a laptop that has a deep fake of Stu, and so she realizes that she cannot trust Ben, beats him up, and runs away from him. However, she is then confronted by that is about to kill her, but Ben comes to defend her as he is now killed by Ghostface. So Ben was innocent this whole time. We eventually see there are 2 Ghostface now, and they capture Tatum and take her hostage. We then see as Stu calls Sidney to let her know that Tatum is being held at home and that she should hurry up here. When we see Sidney arrive to the house, a video message from Stu plays on the TV, but then it turns out it's not Stu after all, as we see Nancy Loomis, as we see also Roman Bridger, and also Dewey Riley. The same person's face morphs throughout, and of course, now we know this is a deepfake AI bullshit. It is then revealed Tatum being held just like in Scream 1, and we see that a Ghostface has her there, and then we see Mark being dragged in by yet another Ghostface. 3 Ghostface for you. It's been a bit now. We've gotten a multiple Ghostface, which I think is always interesting, but it gets kind of a bit repetitive now, right? But we finally get to see who is behind the mask. One of the Ghostface that is holding Tatum is actually Marco, the supervisor from the mental facility. And the other one is, ding, 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 Jessica the neighbor. Jessica is the one behind it all. She's actually the one that orchestrated it. She even went as far as killing her own son, Lucas, and we find out why in a bit. So it turns out that Jessica was so inspired by reading Sidney's biography from Scream 4 that led her to be able to kill her ex-husband who was abusive. She ended up going to a psych ward. This is where she met Marco as well as Carl, and the whole plan got devised to take this to Sidney now, because Sidney did not show up in New York, and Jessica sort of saw this as a cop-out from Sidney, so she was really rooting for Sidney. She looked up to her a lot. She gave her the courage, but when Sidney betrayed what she thinks Sidney should have done, that's when Jessica went psycho and said, you know what, let's bring back the old Sidney. And the only way to do it is to give her some more trauma. And here's the trauma. We're killing your daughter, her friends. We're killing your husband. And we're just terrorizing you with all of the stuff, even bringing back Stu Marker, Nancy Loomis, as well as Roman Bridger, and showcasing your friend Dewey Riley. Now, the only thing left to do is take you out of your misery. So we're going to kill you, and then I'm going to raise Tatum as my own daughter. So that's the crazy thing that Jessica wanted to do. I'll give him props. It's all the way out there, but I just don't know if it really lands when you think about it. But that's a whole other conversation we can have later this weekend if Scream 7 worked, and if we will see Scream 8. We're going to see the box office this weekend. Ultimately, however, Mark is able to help his daughter Tatum escape the restraints, take out Marco, and eventually help her mother take out Jessica, which they are able to do by shooting her not once but multiple times throughout to really make sure she is dead. As the film ends, we see that Sidney comes full circle and realizes that she can't keep everybody in the dark, and she should open herself up more, especially to her daughter. We see that Mindy and Chad are alive after the attack. Yeah, they get attacked every movie, still come back. They definitely have that plot armor. And this is definitely one of those endings that I'm just like, what do we do with this? I don't know. How am I supposed to feel about it all? A lot of deaths, very gruesome, and yet I still feel that we didn't get much here, right? So that's pretty much the ending of Scream. The neighbor, Jessica, was behind it all. The reason she did it was because she was so inspired by Sidney from her autobiography to go out and live her best life, get her abusive husband out of the picture, and she ended up in a psych ward. But when she realized what Sidney did, not showing up in New York, this is when all of the things that she looked up to Sidney shattered, and she decided to devise a plan where she would become her neighbor, ultimately lead her down this path in order to bring back, quote unquote, the old Sidney that she looked up to. But it seems that wasn't going to work. So maybe now she can make a new Sidney with Tatum. And it's interesting because I get what Kevin Williamson was trying to go for here, especially the rabid Scream fans are supposed to represent Jessica in a way, as they really want Sidney and they want to keep putting her in these predicaments, even though Sidney can go on and live her life. That was a big thing with Scream 6 when people were mad that Sidney wasn't going to return. And I think that's what Kevin Williamson's kind of poking at here. I want to talk more about that in another video because it is interesting, and I think it would have worked if the whole Melissa Barrera situation hadn't happened. I think there was an interesting thing there, but it just doesn't really land anymore because the whole Melissa thing happened. People have gotten like a sour taste out of Scream, and not just that, but the film in itself starts to feel like Stab, where it's like, we got you again. Oh, but this is the real ending, you know? And the whole thing with Stu and nostalgia and all of that, I do like that they sort of played and preyed on people wanting that nostalgia by giving them instead AI, which is horrible, of course. And it sort of is like a slap in the face. And I'm just curious how much people want to be slapped, right? Because Maybe some people liked it. I don't know. I will see what happens at the box office this weekend. But I thought it was interesting what they were going for. And like I said, if the climate surrounding the movie was different, I think people would have loved it a little bit more. But I think that the film in itself is going back on its own integrity of what it's been trying to do since it first started back in the 90s with Williamson and Wes Craven. So that's what kind of sort of makes it feel cheap in a way, and just how it looks as well. That's my biggest gripe. But I think that there is some interesting stuff here. The whole like Jessica being obsessed with Sidney and wanting to put her in that situation again just because she feels empowered by it. And it's an interesting one. I also did think that the AI stew thing and all of that was interesting as well. I just don't think the execution was all the way there. But if you did, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on Scream 7. Scream 8 gets announced next week. Let me know. Are you excited, or are you just like, stop, bro, just stop? Let me know down below. But as always, that is going to do it for me. That's the ending of Scream 7. We can talk about what the original plans were for Scream 7 if Melissa Barrera had stayed. Stay tuned for that video this weekend. But I'll let you know more about what horror movies to look forward to, because there's a ton in the next 3 months or 4 that you definitely want to keep an eye out for. So, and the mid-credits scene is basically just Mindy taking over for Gail now. It seems that they may want to pass down the torch here to Chad and Mindy, which could be interesting depending on what they want to do. But I don't know if they want to keep Tatum as now a sole survivor of sorts and pass the Sidney role down to her, which I just don't know how we would even go. Like, I feel like this should definitely be the end of Scream for a bit, right? But we'll see what happens. You know, Hollywood, Paramount, especially Paramount, they're a little weird. Get very power hungry and they want all the money. If this goes like insano at the box office this weekend, Scream 8's coming. Trust me on that. But let me know your thoughts and opinions. And as always, I'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay positive. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. 50,000 subscribers is our big goal. Let's get to it. And I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.